I don't know about you, but I've learned that ideas have power. The ideas that take residence in our minds steer our thinking. Our thinking drives our actions, and our actions determine our results and ultimately our destiny. Ideas, both good and bad, have steered human history and will determine the results of your day. My hope is to curate and pass on some of the best ideas. Ideas that create positivity, that build momentum, and produce extraordinary results. Ideas that build better businesses.
Well, hey everyone. I'm excited to talk through maybe a new idea today. Probably new is the wrong way to describe it. I'd say this is something I've communicated dozens, maybe hundreds of times over the years in various ways, but I don't think I've ever taken the time to sit down and formally describe and name and think through this big idea. So, two strategic shifts. Really, there's two strategic mindset shifts that I'm very convinced need to occur inside of the mind of every single real estate agent for them to be able to actually and truly flourish in the business model that we are all about, building a tribe of advocates. So I want to talk through these two strategic mind shifts and hopefully articulate this in a way that, I guess the best way to describe this is I view this as kind of a binary light switch. There's a switch inside of our minds. I guess there's two of them. And it's really either on or off. And although I've communicated these ideas many times over the years, I've watched with some degree of frustration how so many of our great agents get parts of this, but I feel like there's a hump to get over. And if we can just truly understand these ideas, I really believe that they'll empower us and liberate us to go and conduct our business in a way that's going to produce, well, really just a next level of results. So let's jump into these two strategic shifts, two strategic mind shifts that need to occur for every agent to flourish in a referral-based business. And the context for this, the reason this is coming up in part is we're in the middle of a sales contest that's all about conversations, and we're out and about engaging with our database and our clients. And a lot of the scripts that we're engaged in are very focused on building the relationship for the long-term goal of coaching people to become advocates. At the same time, we're preparing for our round table here in just about 3 or 4 weeks. Very excited to get that event put together, and I've been brainstorming with Angela about one of the principal topics that she's going to be covering, and that's the process of how to actually go about building an advocate. We talk about building a tribe of advocates. We talk about working by referral, and I believe that we accomplish that better than almost, well, frankly, all of our peers in the marketplace. We do a great job of this. But I still think that we could hone in on the how-to of what it actually means to build an advocate. And I believe that today's topic, these two shifts, are really the starting point for that. So let me jump right in. Shift number one is something we've talked about from the very beginning of our organization. Every single recruiting meeting that I used to have back in the day, that our team now has, really always starts with a discussion about the distinction between a transactional and a relational approach to the business. And this isn't that complicated. A transactional approach to sales in any context, but certainly in the real estate world that we live in, really just means that we start with a focus principally on the sale. Our primary interest is getting the sale to close, driving someone through the process in order to get a commission check. Transactional mindset or transactional approach to the business typically starts with a position of scarcity. And what I mean by that is we need to pay the bills. We don't have enough leads. We don't have enough sales. And maybe we do. Maybe we crushed it last year, but our mindset is in a negative space because it's January or February. And we just get in that crazy space that even our top agents get to, where it's a position of scarcity. I just need to go get sales. And so we start with scarcity, and what that tends to create is win-lose mindsets. And I don't think that needs much explanation, but the notion is some sort of zero-sum game in the world, and in order for me to get what I need, somebody else perhaps needs to not get what they need. And transactional mindset, the three major things: driven by scarcity, win-lose mindset, and then finally it tends to have a short-term focus. We tend to be thinking in the now, again, as a function of scarcity, And we sometimes fail to imagine the long-term implications of the actions that we're engaging in right now. So transactional, focused on the sale, driven by scarcity, win-lose, and short-term focus. And if you can picture that on the left-hand side of the page and draw a line down the middle, which is something we always do, and then shift to the right-hand side. And that set of ideas is the flip side of the coin of what we would call a relational approach to the business. And you can think of this holistically in terms of the 10, 15, 20-year time horizon of your business, or you can think of it in the context of every single individual person that you serve, every open house that you conduct, every showing you have, every listing presentation, and every negotiation. A relational approach to the business, instead of a focus on the sale, begins with a focus on the person. It's a focus on the human being in front of you, their needs, their wants, their fears, their hopes, their dreams. Relational thinking, or relational mindset then, again, in contrast to transactional, instead of starting with scarcity, begins with abundance thinking. And we throw around the term scarcity versus abundance a lot. It doesn't need a lot of explanation, but abundance really begins with the idea that there's plenty out there. There's no lack of opportunity in the world. There's no lack of sales. There's no lack of clients, and there's no lack of commission checks. In order to get my piece of those, to get what I need in order to flourish and live my life, I just need to be providing more value than everybody else around me. So we begin with abundance. And that produces, instead of a win-lose mindset, what we call win-win thinking. There's no need for me to take anything from anybody in the world. To build my business, I don't need to hurt anybody else's. To build my building, I don't need to tear anybody else's down. We can all accomplish what we need to accomplish if we're willing to do what we need to do. So again, abundance leads to win-win mindset. And ultimately, what we tend to be able to engage in is more long-term thinking, long-term focus. Rather than thinking about the immediacy as a function of scarcity of the sale or the commission check or the bill that I need to pay, we're able to take our time horizon out, imagine a long-term future because we have what we need now to survive, or we believe that we're going to be able to get to where we need to get to. And we're able to invest our time, our energy, and our effort into the long game in the context of every sale. So transactional versus relational thinking is really not that complicated. I believe that within our firm, because of who we are and because of the kind of gravity field that we've created, we tend to attract people with an intrinsic inclination towards a more relational approach to the business. We're a very team-oriented group. We just structure our business, and even our growth model of working by referral tends to attract people who intuitively understand the idea of a relational focus. But I would say that there's some interesting challenges that we need to have on this first shift, just to consider it. A couple of insights, and then I really want you to think about the fundamental difference between transactional and relational. And here's how I put that in words. I like to think of, if it was binary and if a choice had to be made, picture any particular sale. The question I would like to ask you, or you should ask yourself, is in the context of a transaction, maybe a large one, would you sacrifice the sale for the sake of the relationship? And the best way to think of this context is, let's say you're working a transaction, you're trying to buy a house, but it's with a really, really close family member, someone you love, someone you're vested in, someone that you've spent your whole life with, someone that you, hell or high water, would never do anything to harm the relationship first. And in that context, it's really, really simple for us as we think it through. We write an offer. Maybe it's the third one that gets accepted. We've been showing houses for 6 months, and we get to the inspection phase, and your family member is just being a bit of a turd. As we know, sometimes clients are in high-strung contexts like inspection negotiations. Sometimes people get a little freaked out. There's no question in anyone's mind that we might get pissed off and we might get in a discussion or a debate because they're family, but we would never act in such a way that we would jeopardize the relationship itself for the sake of the sale. Obviously, we would always subordinate the sale to the relationship. And I think that that's easy to think through in the context of your family. But that same reality projected on and transferred on to every single one of the clients that we're engaging with, I would say is a framework for thinking about whether or not you actually are engaging in a relational approach to the business. Is every client and the future and present relationship that you have with that person as an individual primary or secondary as it relates to the transaction? Would you sacrifice the sale for the relationship? Or, alternatively, are you inclined, or have you got a tendency to, or do you sometimes sacrifice the relationship for the sake of the sale? And we all know the context where that happens, and we know that buying houses and selling houses is tricky business, and that it's a very, very intense relationship. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, it's impossible to salvage the relationship with a client. But to the extent that it's within your control, are you placing the person before the sale, or do you sometimes place the sale before the person? And I think that's the distinction. That's the light switch that defines the distinction between a transactional and a relational approach to the business. A couple of quick insights on this before we go to the second, and I would say more important shift. First of all, a relational business strategy or a relational approach to sales, a relational mindset really is fundamentally about, and this is something I've learned over the years as I've engaged with our realtors and our clients, it's about the delivery of what we call LRC, leadership, relationship, and creativity. And I'm not going to get into that today. A lot of you have heard me talk about LRC. Leadership provides direction for people. Relationship creates confidence for them to be able to act. And creativity creates capability for them. And relational business strategy is about negotiation. It's about showing homes. It's about writing paperwork. We've all got to do the technical aspects of the business. But fundamentally, when you wake up in the morning to build a relational-based business, what you understand you're doing is engaging in the business of exchanging your leadership, which provides direction to people, your relationship, your investment into that human being, in order to give them the confidence to know how to act and take the risks that they need to take in the transaction. And then creativity to open doors to ways for them to accomplish their goals. The delivery of LRC is what a relational business is all about, which is why we bring that topic up so much. Second insight on a relational approach is that scarcity is a trigger to transactional thinking. And I think this is super crucial. No matter how relational you are intrinsically, no matter how much you value people, when scarcity creeps into your thinking, which is a risk that we all bear all the time. And again, even our top agents in January most often tend to slide into some degree of scarcity thinking. When scarcity is the defining MO of our mindset, transactionality tends to creep back in. And that's just a very human thing, and we need to be aware of it. Because if our focus and orientation is to build a relationally based business, and scarcity is going to be present from time to time, we have to be able to see it, name it, and ensure that we're able to overcome it. And then the final thing I'll say here is that a relational approach to real estate sales isn't just about being a nice person. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about being a jerk salesperson that tries to trick people into buying a used car that's actually got an engine that doesn't work. It's not about being corrupt versus good. It's about a fundamentally different approach to each sale. What is our principal orientation in the sale? And again, anytime you're confused about that, go back to the previous question about what you would place first, the long-term relationship or the short-term opportunity for the sale. Okay, so that's what I would call the first shift. Every one of our agents, especially within the context of our organization, to flourish inside of our walls and to flourish in a relational and referral-based business, must navigate the shift from a transactional mindset to a relational one, and then has to work to hold the line there. The second shift, which I think is the one that, although I know we've talked about this a lot, I think it's the light switch that for many of you inside of our walls, if you can find a way to turn this light switch on, this would have the largest multiplying impact on your business. I think we get this, but I don't think we get it to the point that we've enacted change inside of our businesses that could affect the change that I actually think we could see. So the second shift is shifting from repeat thinking to referral, from repeat to referral. And I'll read what I wrote here just to explain this. Shifting from repeat to referral means changing your depth of focus from the goal. I think of that like aperture on a camera. You shifted the aperture further out. It's changing your depth of focus from the goal of winning a client for life, which is someone that would use you again, to the goal of building an advocate. And that's someone who actively advocates for your product or service because they want others to benefit as well. So there's some pretty important considerations here. So first off, I think we need to understand that these two shifts, transactional to relational, and then from repeat to referral, are independent. And what I mean by that is you can pull off the first one, but it doesn't necessarily mean you pull off the second. So many of us are relational in our approach, but haven't successfully actually implemented what I would call a referral-based and a referral-oriented strategy in our client interactions. You can accomplish the first without the second, but you can't accomplish the second, repeat to referral, without the first. If you aren't engaging first with people in mind, then there's no way you're going to win them over either as repeat clients or referral clients. So that's the first, I think, consideration. The second consideration I want you to have in your mind is the size, the difference in size between the two opportunities, one being relational to get repeat business, the other relational to get referral business. We know that people, I guess the tenure of people inside of their homes on average is now close to 10 years. And we know that it's wonderful to serve great clients and to win them over. But winning them over as someone that will buy with us again in the next 10 years is obviously terrific. It pales in comparison to the very real opportunity to turn that person into an active advocate of your business that actively works to engage in the process of finding other people that they want to encourage to work with you. The referral opportunity is the massive opportunity inside of our business model. And so you can either be working towards another sale in 10 years or opportunities every single day moving forward because of the investment of time. So the second thing that I think is worth talking about here, the second shift from repeat to referral, is that the goal of building advocates, or the intention of trying to create an advocate out of every client, is a completely different objective, and it requires a completely different set of work to be done. Remember, an advocate is someone who actively refers people to you, someone who's worked with you, had a great experience, enjoyed buying the house with you, you did a good job, they've moved in. Most of them absolutely believe that they will work with you again. And if asked if they liked you and would even refer people to you, they would say, yeah, they're great. But the work to be done to actively turn that person into an active advocate is a fundamental different set of activities that need to be engaged in, scripts that need to be had, investments that need to be made, seeds that need to be planted and watered and cultivated than the work of just winning someone over as a repeat client. For someone to be an advocate, and I know that Angela's going to get into this in depth here in a few weeks, and I'm so excited for this course. But for someone to be an advocate, yes, they need to know, like, and trust you. They also need to believe in your professional value proposition. So they need to know you're good at what you do. But more than that, they have to understand that your goal is to work by referral. If that hasn't been implanted into their mind and psyche and firmly cemented in, and they don't understand what that means and why that's so important to your business, I don't think you've got an advocate. And then finally, they actually have to also understand how to refer to you. We all know that people that love us and want people to work with us and want our moms, their inclination would be to simply tell people about us. They may even want to hand our business cards out, but we also all know that that's not how referrals work. We know that in order for us to successfully navigate the referral world, we need someone to call us and say, hey, my friend Bob is making a move. You should reach out to him. And so, again, they need to know, like, and trust. They need to understand our professional value proposition, but they also need to understand that we work by referral, the implications of the referral business to us, and then they need to understand and be taught how to refer to us. And I want you all to remember this super important fact. And again, this is, I think, the fulcrum or the hinge upon which this light switch turns. we know that referring is an innate social tendency. No one needs to be taught how to refer in most contexts. You watch a good movie, you tell your friends about it. You eat at a great restaurant, you tell your friends about it. And it's built into the societal structure. We share good things so that we can help our friends and family also experience those things because we want more good in the world. That does not necessarily translate into your client that bought a house with you. They don't have a natural inclination to think to refer to you. They think the best way that they can help you is that they will work with you again in the future. So the shift from repeat to referral requires a intentionality and a set of active engagements with our clients that we have to engage in order to build an advocate. And again, Angela, can't wait for you to cover the course material that you've got coming up in here in a few weeks. So a few insights or maybe questions that I think you need to ask yourself as it relates to the second shift. Question number one is your process, and when I think about your process, your listing presentation, your buyer presentation, your showings, your ongoing communication, how we navigate the pending to close process, is your process geared towards selling houses or winning advocates? Second, are you worth referring to? Are you actually brilliant at what you do? And ways to think about that is your referability habits. Are you showing up on time, doing what you say, finishing what you start, and saying please and thank you? And then are you embedding great value into the process for the client? Or are you doing what realtors do? Show houses, write contracts. So are you worth referring to? Third question, are you turning on your client's reticular activator? The RAS, this isn't like a made up thing. The reticular activating system is a component of our brains that ultimately filters all of the data and information that we take in on a daily basis. We take in far more than we can focus on. The RAS, reticular activating system, is the part of your brain that determines what it's going to pay attention to, what it's going to notice, and what it's going to filter out. Are you turning on your client's reticular activator system for your need for referrals, for how grateful you are when they refer to you, and for how to refer? Fourth question, are you actively communicating your desire for referrals? Just because someone's been taught that you need referrals and how to refer doesn't mean that their life somehow orients around your business. People are busy. And we have to train. First of all, we have to deliver remarkable experiences to them. Then we have to coach and train them that referrals are the number one way that they can thank us and help us continue to thrive. And then we have to stay top of mind. We have to be willing to ask the question, hey, just checking in, how are you? How's things? How's Tom? How's the kids? Listen, the reason I'm reaching out is right now is a super busy time of the market. Even though it's still cold outside, people tend to start thinking about their future real estate needs. Do you know of anyone, or who do you know that might be making a move this year that I need to be talking to so that I'm top of mind and they don't end up working with someone that doesn't care about them? Are you actively communicating your desire for referrals and reminding people? And then finally, are you practically training your future advocates on how to refer? And again, what I mean by that is that most people don't understand that, well, mom thinks the best thing she can do is tell everyone how awesome you are. But we know enough to understand that that is not going to produce the yield that we're looking for. We have to train people the process. We have to remind them. We have to think like Pavlov's dogs. We have to reward people. Obviously, we can't pay people for referrals legally, but we certainly can take our top people out to lunch frequently and reinforce the behavior of them referring people to us. I think that's what I've got for you today. I just want you to, in closing, take a few minutes, think through these two shifts. And I think the challenging question for the first one, transactional to relational, is in what ways are you maybe prone to being willing to sacrifice long-term relationships for short-term sales? And how can we make that shift and reinforce that shift and hold the line on that? Relationships before transactions will be the long-term winning game plan for anyone wanting to build a referral-based business. And then secondly, are we committed and are we willing to do the work that needs to be done to shift from repeat to referral-based business. It's a different set of work, different set of principles, and we know that anyone willing to make the commitment to invest into both of these shifts inside of the lives of every person not only will produce a better long-term yield, have a better business, but I actually believe you'll love what you do more. It's a privilege to do what we do. It's a privilege to help people through the largest transaction of their life. And if we engage with this mindset with every single one of the people we serve, there's no question about the yield, but I believe we'll also find more fulfillment, more joy, more satisfaction in what we do because it's just right. Hope you guys take something away from this, the 2 shifts. Look forward to seeing you again here in a couple weeks and appreciate all your hard work. Thank you very much.